Hi, so I'm Jennifer King. I am on the steering committee and I'm also chairing the content development work group. So we have a great group of advisors from a lot of different spaces, health IT space, we have patient advocates, we have privacy lawyers, all types of people who are really helping us advise on the work group. But a lot of the work is really being done by the Reagan-Udall Foundation BD4P staff and our key consultant, who I will introduce in just a moment. So this group together is really trying to build out the curriculum around 4 main themes. And the themes are deriving meaning from health data, trying to distinguish how big data approaches are different from traditional research approaches, understanding the policy and privacy aspects of health data, and really helping everyone understand what the role of patient advocates are in driving patient-centered research forward, particularly in this space. So I'm now going to introduce Dr. Roth, who is our consultant who's doing a lot of the work on this project in the curriculum development. Dr. Roth's a professor at the University of Maryland, currently serving as an associate dean for educational innovation in the School of Public Health. He's the former director of Maryland's Teaching and Learning Transformation Center. He's overseen curriculum development of both undergraduate and graduate degree programs and certificates, and has directly participated and overseen the development of face-to-face, blended, and online courses. His experience in program evaluation, including assessment of learning outcomes and program impact. So Dr. Roth is really helping us frame the course, really helping us bring in a lot of real-world case examples to make this participatory and appropriate for adult learners. And we think he's doing a fantastic job, and I'd like to introduce him to talk more about our curriculum.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to be here. I've got a couple members of my team who I'll introduce in a little while as well. So we're excited to learn more about your perspectives on what we are envisioning thus far based on our interactions with the steering committee and the content work group. That was a very nice background of me. I don't think we need to spend more time on that. What I want to do is take this opportunity to learn more from you, okay? In particular, those of you who are patient advocates, who work closely with patient advocates, we want to get your perspective on what you want to get out of this training program. Envision that you are in this space September 30th or October, whatever. When we do this first pilot training, what do you want to walk away from? We're envisioning this as about a 2.5-day training, and we'll talk through the details of that. But as you walk into that, what would you like to walk out with? Okay? And so what I'm going to do is a little demonstration of what we call active learning, where I want each of you as groups, and you can mix and mingle, however, to make sure that we have a nice mix of people at each of the tables. I want you to, using the note cards, to talk through and write down your ideas. What would you want to know? What would you want to be able to do as you leave a training program around big data? What are your key questions right now? And again, I want you to, several of you have already participated in this through previous stakeholder meetings as steering committee members and so forth. So for you, I really want you to put on a different hat. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a patient advocate who maybe doesn't know anything about big data other than Amazon tracking your book purchases, right? And for those of you here and online who are patient advocates, we really want your voice in this. What do you want to be able to do? What do you want to be able to know about big data? How do you want to use this information? Or where do you feel limited currently as you advocate around big data? So we're going to take a few minutes to do this, all right? So if you're at a small table, you can go ahead and move. I promise you can come back to your favorite spot and just chat with each other. What would you like to know? What would you like to be able to do? Go. And introduce yourselves if you haven't already done that. So, who wants to volunteer something? What do you want to know? What do you want to be able to do? Folks, you talked for 10 or 15 minutes. I know you came up with something. I heard lots of good ideas when I was roaming. Don't be shy.
How can this improve
How can this improve research? Great.
You're in this, we talked about, you're in this to improve the process, having more drugs, more treatments. So how can this big data thing improve R&D, improve research?
Great. Obviously something that many patient advocates have as their core mission. How can we improve ultimately the care and treatment of folks with certain conditions? Research is a major part of that. How is big data going to improve that? Excellent. Yeah. I can also repeat the question.
So, as a patient advocate leader, if I devote 2.5 days to this training, what am I going to do with it? Because it's, balancing other kind of restrictions on my time and opportunity cost. So is there a way to apply what I learn quickly?
Right. So how can I use this? Absolutely. And
So,
that's one of the that's one of the key points that we want to be able to provide are the resources for advocates and describe throughout the 2.5 days. These are ways that you can use this.
So I'm also an advocate, and I would want to sort of understand enough of the vocabulary to feel like I can at least listen. I'd like to understand what it is I should really be able to understand and what I can just gloss over, because most of probably the technical stuff will be that way. I would really like to understand what the key patient issues are and red flags, because if I'm in a forum that's discussing big data, that's the blinders that I should be wearing. And I want to know that when a red flag comes up, I can talk to that. And I'd like to better understand the other stakeholders involved, what their potential conflicts and things might be, and how they relate to what I do.
Great. So lots of good ideas there. So key terms, the vocabulary, the jargon that is used within this space of big data, data analytics, data science, all of these kind of speak to the same issue. Key concepts, key issues and concerns, and then also, I heard at the end, stakeholders and stakeholder perspectives. There are lots of people in organizations in this space of big data, and how are each of them approaching it? And they're all going to have slightly different perspectives. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think maybe variation on the same sort of theme. As somebody who is a believer, I guess, a convert, that this can be very helpful. How could I use this training to help other members of the patient-parent community that I'm part of assess what the possibilities are, and I personally hope sort of catalyze them to take action and be willing to donate data, to be willing to offer their thoughts on what kind of data is important, to support efforts to aggregate data, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right. I think that's one of the key themes that we've heard from the content work group and the steering committee is that, look, this is happening. There's a reason this is happening. We start to see the benefits of big data approaches. But we also don't want to turn this program into just a cheerleading session around big data. Big data is amazing, it's awesome, it's wonderful, go out and do good things. No, because I think as Jane mentioned, what are the issues, what are the concerns? There are people who are concerned about big data. There are privacy implications. And so to be an educated advocate, you can still be positive about its use and see the benefits while being able to address fully the concerns that the legitimate concerns that people have about its use. So absolutely, that's going to be a core part.
Just to add, and this may be an example that's come up before. I mean, in my work life, very familiar with how registries are evolving and how the potential of registries around the country. In my parent life with other parents, for many of them, the only time they've heard the term registry is in relation to a sex offender registry. So, the notion, and it's a real notion back where I'm up at it in Massachusetts, that we might create some registry kind of thing around our particular concern, immediately freaks out a number of parents in the room. So again, this training as to how to allow other parents, advocates, self-advocates, patients to assess for themselves in an honest way, and I personally hope, catalyze them then to take action is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Yeah, back there.
I think one of the things that comes to mind for me, and we had a couple of other things that came up with, one is how does technology fit into this, and how do I use technology to sort of support my work as an advocate regarding big data? And it's sort of a question that needs to be unpacked, like what does technology even mean? But it, I think, is a piece that could be better explained and help people really understand how technology or how devices or how other kinds of information gathering things can actually enable them to communicate about the power of big data.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. The various linkages. And one of the case studies that we'll be incorporating is with 23andMe, which is a private company, effectively, pulling in data, but they're linking it with mobile technologies to allow patients, anyone, to contribute data to a big and growing data set. So how does that piece bring in privacy concerns, other ethical concerns, who owns these data, etc.? So, all right, well, these are great ideas. I want you to please write down anything that hasn't been discussed that you haven't already written down on these cards. We'll collect those and pull them in. I want to just take a couple of minutes and talk through the overall structure of what we're envisioning for this training program. And again, I wish I could just, and probably I should have put a big watermark under these slides, draft. Okay, this is draft. The reason that we're doing this here in this forum is to get your feedback and improve what we're doing before we launch into our summer activities of really building out this content and making this the smooth, polished final product. Okay?